Hello everyone, this is Planckera, and welcome to my universe. And hello there Protox, and hello Cakes. Welcome back, both of you. Let's see, last time, started finishing up the rendering on Pippa, and I started adding the lighting because there were things bothering me, and I needed to make sure I was on the right track. I am. I like it much better once I have all my lighting layers on, and this is like barely even getting started, so I think I'm gonna be fine. But for now, I just kind of want to get everything looking good on her, and then I can play around with lighting if I want, or I can go around to the rest of the picture first, or whatever I feel like. It's all good. I have many options. But for now, I think I would like to finish this little coat shawl thing. And I'll see where things go from there. I guess I'll start with the ribbons. Then go finish them up. I'm just taking a look around here, but yeah. Let's go ahead and do that. There are still some things in the background that I'm not quite sure about, but you know what? I just want to finish Pippa. So, I'll worry about those later. For now, it is time to get this nice and smooth, and I remember last time as I was drawing this, I was like, you know, maybe I shouldn't have started adding the shading until after I smoothed things out. And I was like, whoops, but it's fine. It is. I probably created a little bit more work for myself, but not that much. It won't be that bad. But yeah, I just don't like how rough the edges here. There's some blobs and stuff, like, I mean, what's even going on there? But, it's all pretty minor, so I should be able to just figure it all out. Okay, let's see here. Is that really... Okay, maybe I have some foreground shenanigans going on. Let me go ahead and just turn off the foreground stuff. Yeah. Okay, that's all it was. I was getting a weird color when I was color picking there, and I didn't know why, but yes. Some of the foreground was overlapping, and it was turning everything a little bit white or green or something. Probably a little bit of snowfall. I can't imagine. I don't think the trees reach that far. So today is just going to be a rendering day, which means that, you know, it's going to be a day where my mind probably wanders quite a lot. Because rendering pretty brain dead, but very necessary. Things I think look better when I take the time to actually get them smooth and kind of perfect a lot of the shapes. So there we go, and I don't know, how do I feel about the shape of the ribbon overall? Yeah, I think it's fine. Okay, so I get this little top part, and then kind of the inside of the ribbon here where we see it. There we go. And for a lot of clothing-based things, I don't feel the need to be, like, perfectly smooth. Even for things that I'm not gonna kind of chop up like this. So, it's okay for there to be a little bit of wiggle. Oh, congrats. Keep up the good work. I'm still trying to think about things there, but I don't know. I stand by my assessment that the most important thing to do as a beginner is to draw the things that you want to draw, and don't really worry too much about your skill level just yet. Go do all the fun things. Yeah, that's a lot of drawing. Okay, that is a good shape here, I think. Looks very ribbon-like. I want to get that little center part a little bit more prominent here. There we go. So I'm just kind of erasing a little bit more on the inside there, and I'm even gonna kind of pull it out just a little bit more like that. Just kind of due to the angle. I feel like we see a little bit more like that. I'll just go ahead and finish this side first. My brain has decided that it wants to. It's a little different than how I did the other one, but that is fine. As always, you know, it doesn't really matter what order I do things in. There are some places the order matters. But for rendering, nah. It doesn't really matter at all. As long as I get to all of it. Okay, and then on this side, I actually feel like it's a little bit too prominent. So I'm going to change the shape here just a little. Plop some of that in there. And there we go. What are you hoping to be able to draw once you have done all this? Like, what is the drawing in your heart that you would just really like to make? Okay, and then I do feel like some of this is a little bit straight. So if you look at the kind of the structure of the ribbon that I have here, we've got some tight folds around there. So I'm actually going to make this wobble a little. You can even see in the little highlights, I have just like a little bit of a wobble right here. So I'm going to put that little wobble in. I just feel like it's a little bit too straight. And I'm going to do this to all the other parts of the ribbon too. I just kind of noticed it. I was like, huh, why does this feel so sterile and unribbon-like? And yeah, I think it just needs a little bit of bumps where the ribbon is being pulled. So let's see, I got one there and I got one there, so let's try... Let's try to pull this in. There we go. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. Just make it a little bit more lumpy. Sometimes these small things bother me, and I'm never quite sure what it is. And it takes me a little while to figure it out, but I think that actually helped a lot. There we go. That is much more convincing as a ribbon, I think. Yeah, and I mean, it's fine to do some of that. I'm not sure if some of the studying you're doing now is going to help you that much until you actually start trying to draw the things that you actually want to draw. And I also don't think a child's body is any easier to draw than an adult's body. The proportions are just a little different. You can do what you want. But hey, you know what? If you do feel like drawing the solid forms is helping you, then, you know, go ahead and keep doing it. But I still stand by my statement that you should draw the things in your heart rather than do studies early on. I don't actually think studies help beginners very much. Not raw beginners. I think studies are going to be more useful to you once you've tried to draw the things that you really want to draw. And I will always stand by that statement. But if you're having fun doing the studies, then, you know, keep doing it. There's nothing wrong with doing stuff until you die. And well, I mean, until that wasn't what I meant to say, but it's true. keep doing the things you want until you die. That sounds like a fantastic way to live. But it's hard to know what you have to learn until you try. Alright. It's alright. Keep going with your plan then. I just always feel the need to say it because I think a lot of people have weird ideas about how you learn how to draw and, or what being good at drawing entails. And I don't know. I think it's just important for people to actually draw the pictures that they want, and it'll give you a better understanding of what you need to know in order to achieve your art goals. If you had asked me, let's say 5 years ago, and whether or not it mattered that I was really slow at drawing, I would have said no. I would have said that, you know, it's fine for me to take my time. But, I don't agree anymore. For a lot of people, I actually don't think it matters if they're slow at drawing, but for what I want to do now, I have to get faster. And then that's probably my #1 goal at this point. And if you had asked me, even 3 years ago, if it was important that I be able to talk while drawing, I would have said, why would I need to do that? But here I am, where talking while drawing is a very important skill for me to have. Okay, what do I want to do with this ribbon anyway? Humu. I gotta pause and think about that for a second, because I'm drawing randomly and that's a bad idea. I better think about where I actually want some of these shapes to go. I just want to make it look like the cloth is being pulled tight around the center bit. And I also think that the center bit is a bit too round. So I'm gonna kinda square that off just a little bit here. And then I'm gonna make it a little bit less round. Okay. So something like that. I guess that's fine. I could probably make those shapes a little more convincing, but for where it is, like if this was on her head, I'd care a lot more, but this is fine. I think it conveys what needs to be conveyed there. And like I said, one of the things that I'm trying to improve most about my art is I want to be a little bit faster, and that means not getting caught up on stupid things. Like, is the ribbon shadow just exactly correct? I don't think it really matters whether or not the ribbon shadow is exactly correct, as long as it is sufficiently correct that people can understand what is going on there. My style's not realistic enough for me to worry about raw accuracy. At least not in this picture. I do dabble in some more semi-realistic stuff occasionally. I just like to draw the eyes big, so I don't do a lot of straight realism anymore. Okay, I don't quite like where that is, so I'm actually going to grab my Lookify and just kind of push it over a little bit. The shape is fine, I just think it's too far to the side, so I'm just pushing it back over. It's going to mess up the center part a little bit, but I can fix that, and then it'll be fine again. See, no problem at all. All is well. And I'll probably put some light on this too, but not yet. Not yet. I mean, art is art in general. The main thing that made me choose anime over realism is that, like, if you want to go, like, super hardcore realism, like, being able to, like, replicate photographs and whatnot, you basically have to have a reference. Even if it's clay figures or something, I don't think it's possible to get something truly realistic looking from imagination. You can get there with semi-realism, even if it's like real close to realism, if you have lots of kind of exaggerated and imagined light. But like if you want genuine photorealism, I don't think it can be done without a reference. And that's what kind of turned me off to it. I wanted to be able to draw the stuff in my head, and I wanted to be able to draw things like, you know, dragons and whatnot. And, I just didn't feel like I could do that with, full, pure realism. I mean, even if you want to go into, like, the more realistic fantasy art, that's not always very realistic if you really look at it. It will never be mistaken for a photograph. And the ones that get close are probably, like, heavily referencing lizards and stuff like that when they draw, like, dragons or other fantasy creatures. So that's kind of what turned me off to it. And I just decided that I wanted to be able to draw lots of weird stuff that does not exist. You know, like bunny girls. So I just decided that I wanted to focus more on being able to draw from imagination, and, you know, so something less realistic suited my, suited my goals better, I guess you could say. I see. I wouldn't know, I don't play it, so... But it is true, Christmas is near. My kids are very excited about it. They are now both old enough that they actually understand what Christmas is, so there we go. Alright, time to finish off this little ribbon here. I want this one in particular to be, like, way more in the light here. It's directly facing the sun. So I'm making it a bit brighter. Yeah, I mean, if they're, you know, of the live service variety, that's pretty normal. I don't blame you. This is why I stopped playing any games with live service elements. It's like, I played Arknights for a long time, and I still think Arknights is good, and I was a little bit sad that I had to drop it. But... It was very sad. I'm afraid I can't help you, friend. This is why it's important to keep a backup pen. But yeah, I did have to drop Arknights because I just could not keep up with time-limited events and having to log in every day. That stuff is starting to drive me crazy. I had too much stuff going on. So, I feel ya. I can't do it anymore. It just drives me... It drives me nuts. Feeling like I'm forced to play a game in order to keep up with stuff and having to fight FOMO all the time. I can't do it anymore. I cannot. I see. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to there, but... Okay. So just putting a little bit of light in the bottom part here because, again, the sun is like right there. And I just feel like that the ribbons will catch a little bit of light here. But this side is going to get considerably less than this side. That side just... It's facing a little bit more away. So it doesn't get quite as much. But nonetheless... it gets some. Just enough to make it a little bit shiny. Just enough to make it a little bit shiny. And then I want just a little bit of, like, light there. Okay. Now for the other one. Oh yeah, I've already smoothed everything, so I can just get right into it, huh? Okay. So once again, I think I want the center thing to be a little bit more square. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, and then I can get right in to kind of where the cloth of the ribbon is being stretched out. Let's see, I kind of want this part to come in a little bit more. I want to make this ribbon look nice and round. You know, unlike my Malice drawings here, everything actually gets to be nice and round. I get to embrace the curves. I do not have to fight my nature there. It's very nice. But you know, sometimes fighting your nature is also pretty fun. And for this one, I will not be putting that little bit of additional light that I put in on this side. These ones will stay dark on the inside. I mean, get a different pen. Even if you can't use a special pen, you can draw with a normal pen. And if you don't have one, well, that sounds like a problem. Should always have backups. I guess strictly speaking, I don't have a backup because I draw digitally and I don't have a backup stylus, but I probably, you know, if I could, I probably should. I've had a few scares with mine, so... There was a time when my kids were very interested in everything on my desk, and oh man, they got into so much mischief. I had to get very angry at them a lot in order to make them stop that. It was kind of awful, honestly. I don't like having to get mad at them, but I can't have them getting into my stuff. It was very, very sad. Okay, that looks fine. Let's do the next one. Well, like I said, I'm afraid I can't help you, friend. You're on your own there. I would not know how to take care of such an animal. Hello there, Tamak. Welcome back. But it's alright. If you gotta get up in order to go deal with your pet, you know, that's totally fine. I'll be here later. And if you'd like to see the progress on the picture, the VOD will be up. So, you know, don't feel like you have to sit here and panic if you have something you gotta go do. Because I'm just gonna be here rendering some clothes. And as much as I do like rendering clothes, and as exciting as I generally find it to be, sometimes there are things. No, I haven't. That's why I say, I mean, if you got something you gotta do, go do it. It's fine, don't worry about it. I'll be here later, I'll be here tomorrow. Alright, so now I'm just gonna kind of blend this a little bit to just make it look like the ribbon here is turning a little bit, so it's not quite so paper thin looking. Just the slightest hint of a color change there to make it look a little bit rounder. So you can kind of compare here, where this side looks maybe a little bit blurrier, but it kind of has a round quality to it. And for these ones, I'm also gonna put that just a little bit down here. Only a little, though. Not a lot. Definitely don't want to overdo that, because that kind of thing can get messy if you're not careful with it. Congrats. Okay. I want just a little bit of shadow coming through there. This side is a bit more directly facing the light, but I do feel like there should be just a touch of shadow right through here. I'm going to be very, very gentle with it. I don't think it should be too dark. Okay, and there we go. I think I can switch to my lights now. And get those lights in there. So this one will not be quite as strong as the one on the other side. It may be facing the light, but not quite as much as like this guy. In fact, this guy, I think I want to even add a little bit more brightness to the edge here. Because this guy's like right in the thick of it. Right in the thick of it. Okay. Then from here, I'm just gonna kind of follow the structure of the ribbon that I drew. I can kind of see its forms in my head. So I'm just following that along, following the shadows that I already put in. This is why I tend to start with the shadows. I feel like they just define a little bit more of the structure of things. And then from there, it becomes very easy to know where the highlight should go. So yeah, just something kind of like that. And then I'm gonna fluff it out. I do not know very much about graphic tab. I do not know very much about drawing tablets. And the one I use is way outside that range. So unfortunately, I can't really help you there. You'll have to go find some reviews. But it's okay. I think there's lots of places out there that do reviews for cheaper tablets. And then that many people that have lots of recommendations. I see it often. Seems to be a very popular topic. Alright, I want the center part to be a little bit shinier. I think that this guy could use some shine too. I could probably do it on the other side too, actually. I think this side needs a lot more shine. No, not there. Up here. There we go. Yeah, no problem. Just, do your research. And I'm sure you'll be able to find something good. I don't think you need something too fancy as a beginner, but at the same time, it's like if you can't afford it, the nice ones are nice. Alright. Okay, yeah, I think the ribbons look good. So now let's go down and finish off the fluff. So just all in there. I don't think I'm gonna have to pull too many shenanigans with this. I just want to put some nice darks around the ribbon here. And because the sun is a little bit stronger on this side, I am actually making it a little bit darker through there. I am pressing a little bit harder than I will over on this side. So you can maybe see just a little bit of the difference here, but this side is going to be a little further away and a little bit lighter. Okay. And I think that's good for that. I think I've got the rest already in a decently good spot. So I want to find a nice blendy brush that will let me blend things as I want here. Does this give fluffy texture? Well, I mean, drawing tablets are pretty expensive in general. What about the smudge tool I used last time? Will that work here? It might. If I press really hard. Let's take a look. Okay, yeah, this actually works really well. Okay. Oh yeah, it's... No matter where you live, tablets are definitely expensive. But I do think having a good one is worth it. But if you're just kind of starting out, it's probably not that important to get a super good one. Make sure that you really like doing digital art before you invest too heavily, I'd say. It's like, I guess strictly speaking, I didn't, because I got my first tablet when I was 13. And my dad just got me a pretty nice one for Christmas. And it just turned out that it was the future. But to be fair, I had been drawing at the computer for a while without a tablet by that point. And mostly via like collaging and edits. So I think it was probably already clear to a degree that I was going to be sticking with it. So I don't know, man. But, I was 13, so I couldn't tell you. Okay, let's see. How exactly do I want to handle this? I want to make sure that this is, like, the fluffiest thing on the planet. I'll probably add in some more highlights at the end here, but let's get all these all floofed in. See, this is why I can't even just use the same brush that I was using for the fur on the animals. It's not quite the right kind of fluff. But this is doing it. This is more supposed to be like cotton ball fluff. Yeah, like I said, I don't know very much about tablets. I got the one, I had it for probably a good... Well, it was a long time. And then I only got the one that I have now, like, what, 5 years ago or so? So yeah, I had it for a really long time. And I just never really felt the need to buy until that one's just started getting a little beat up. Now my daughter uses that one, so... It still works. It's just getting a little beat up. It was a gift, so I'm not sure. I use a Wacom Intuos Pro, so you can go look up the price if you want. All of the information on my tools and stuff in the description. I don't use a screen tablet, so that probably makes things a little bit cheaper. I actually don't like screen tablets very much, because then my hand gets in the way. I got a laptop that I could draw on. And I have not been able to use it for drawing very much yet. Because every time I try to draw on it, it's like, you draw it right on the screen. So my hand gets in the way and it drives me nuts. I can no longer see the entire screen. I hate it. More accurately, I just have to get used to it. So I need to... I need to draw with it more. But I'm too used to just being able to see the entire screen without my hand in the way. Yeah, I think this has a lot of cotton ball fluff energy. I approve. I very strongly approve. And then I'll see if I want to add some like additional shadows in a few places or anything like that. This is probably covering most of it though. It's just, you know, it's a little bit wavy, so I might add just a little bit more in a couple of key places. But for the most part, I think this is fine. Alright, well there you go. That's what I use. That's why I say it probably helps that it's not a screen tablet. Because I don't have the display on here, and that probably lowers the price considerably. Okay, so there we go. I like the texture on that. Yeah, that's perfect. I might lessen it just a little bit, but nah, that's pretty good. Okay, and I do think that I probably want a couple more shadows in some places. Just to make it look a little bit fluffier. So I'm gonna just kind of blob my way through. Blob's the answer to fluffy. Gonna put a little bit right there, but otherwise, you know, I think this is pretty good. And then I'll just add a couple of light spots, like right through here, for example. And maybe a little bit kind of through here. A little bit like right there, and I think that'll be good. It's white, so the highlights aren't going to stick out very much, so I don't spend very much time with them. Just enough to kind of get something there. But when it comes to shading light things, you're going to be seeing much more of the shadows. And when you want to shade dark things, you're going to see much more of the highlights. So... and that's just how it is. That's why when you want to shade something that's black, pay more attention to the highlights. When you want to shade something that's white, pay more attention to the shadows. And for white in particular, you can even just grab a bunch of colors from the surrounding area, which I will actually be doing here. So in this case, it's going to be the pink of the sunset. I'm just going to kind of brush that in certain spots. And that'll make it fluffy again. I'm not going to do it on this side. This part is like way in the light here, so I'm just going to give it some more of that yellow. But yes, white is highly reflective. That's kind of its defining characteristics. That's why there's so much pink and purple and stuff in the snowman here. I kept it pretty subtle. But I do think that subtle bit of color makes things nice. And, you know, to an extent, you can even not be very subtle about it and go very strong if you want to. It's just not what I wanted to do here. Like, I have seen some people that shade white with just so many colors, and it looks fantastic. I like it a lot. It's just not what I do. And I want to add a little bit more blob of lighter color into the shadow. Just to make it look a little bit more fluffy, kind of breaking up the shadow there. It's a little bit too uniform. Hello there, Blood Bullet. Welcome back. Okay, and I think that is fantastic, so let's move on to the next bit. Let's see, are you already pretty smooth? I think I smoothed this part out already. I did. Most excellent, so I can just get right into shading it. So here, this cloth is very... what's the word? It's very thick, and has probably a little bit of fuzz to it. Much less than like this, which is fluffy. But I know exactly how I want it to look texture-wise. Do I not have the right colors? Okay, so this is the base and this is the shadow. Okay. Yeah, there we go. And then I have a dark shadow, which I will probably use a bit here. Then out on this side, I want just a little bit of light. She's mostly backlit. So, there we go. Alright, well, good to know, I suppose. I'm hoping that it'll last me, you know, another good eternity, or two. That would be nice. And hopefully, I won't have to get another one until I have, like, grandkids or something. I try to take very good care of my tablet, so... I take very good care of it, so it will take very good care of me, and let me make all the kinds of wonderful things that I want to make. Okay, and here I'm gonna round out the shadows for a bit. They're still kind of triangular. They're just much more round triangles than, say, what I kind of have going down here. And that's because I picture the cloth here being much thicker. And I want to convey that. And then I'm just, you know, kind of paying attention to how it's sitting on her shoulders and whatnot. And while it's not intentional, I actually kind of like the little bit of rim light I got going here. So I'm gonna go leave that. Put it in a little bit more. And I will need some darker shadows, but I'm just starting with this color for now. You know, just one thing at a time. Can't do more than one thing at a time when it comes down to it. And then I'm probably going to go in and texturize it just a little bit there. Like I said, I don't want to do too much. I just want it to have that kind of cloth quality that I'm picturing in my head. I don't know what kind of cloth it is. I don't know it by name, but I can picture it very clearly. So I would very much like to do that. And let's see. I think I want just a few more shadows kind of down and around here. Well, I mean, the screen definitely makes things more expensive. But, I mean, personally, I think the screen makes things worse. So, But I think it just comes down to preference, because, I mean, there are so many people that swear by screen tablets. I am just not one of them. Nor will I ever be. I do not like having the screen and having my hand get in the way. I find it very annoying. Alright, so now I'm gonna go in with my dark shadow here and just get the darkest spots. And make certain spots just a little bit darker, like through here. You can see here, I'm not pressing very hard. Like, look how much darker this color is compared to this color. Because I just want there to look like there's just a little fold in here. So here I'm going to press a little harder in order to kind of get that little fold in there. And then down here, I want this to be very heavily blended together. It should be like a perfect gradient, if I do it right. Okay, I'll just work it a little bit, and eventually it'll kind of come together. And I'm going to do the same here, where this should also be just a perfect gradient. Because this little fold really only exists right there. And then I want a dark shadow on the bird, kind of under her hair. And a little bit around the ribbons here. But the rest, I think, are fine with this kind of lighter one. And then maybe I'll make this part here just a little tiny bit darker. Okay. And then I'm going to get in just a little bit of light. Just over on this side, because this side I picture just being so heavily into the sun that some of the shadows kind of fade. But I'm not going to do that on this side. This side doesn't need it. But now I just kind of want to get that fluffy texture that I was picturing in my head. And I do think that the smudge tool that I've been using will allow me to do that. So I'm just going to break it up just a little bit here. Not a lot, just a little. You can see it's a very subtle little effect. I'm just scattering it around the edge of the shadows here a little bit. And I'm hopeful that that will get me the exact texture that I want. Where it just looks a little felty or fuzzy. That's why I say I don't know the name of this kind of cloth. But I do know what it looks like, so that's sufficient. And I see that there's a little hole right there, so I'm going to go fill that in. There we go. Okay, and I think that's her coat. Yeah, it looks good to me. I'll see if I want any more decoration on it. I don't really think I do. I think that this is fine at most. I was thinking about doing something like woven ribbon, like this. That actually is kind of cute. You wouldn't see it on this side, so it would literally just be that, unless I also have it going up here. But no, you know what? That actually is kind of cute. Let's do it. I changed my mind again. So let's go put a couple little ribbons in there, and I'll even let this one kind of go out just a touch. Just to give it a little bit more presence. And fortunately, because I really only have to do it here, it's a very small little detail. So it won't even take that long to draw. Oh, thank you. I'm liking how this picture's coming out. Sometimes it's the simple things that can make all the difference. Okay, and then from here... I'm just kind of go around. And through here. There we go. Get that looking a little bit better there. And I felt like this one is a little bit thicker than this one, so I'm making this one a little thicker there. And you know what? I think that's enough. So I'll go grab my shadow color. And I want all of the edges to kind of disappear into shadow. And I think we see just a little bit of the top here, so I'll go plop that in. Along with a little bit of the shadow. That shows that this one is on top of the other one. And I can kind of do those together here. And this will fade into the coat, and I will draw some little slit shadows in the coat too. But I want to finish up the ribbon part first. Can only do one thing at a time, after all. I have to remind myself of that often. Due to my eternal hate of opportunity cost. Okay, now I can make it just a little bit shiny. I think it really only needs to be shiny, like right there. And that's sufficient. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty cute. I like it. And that'll just go all the way around. And we don't see it on this side because the ribbon's covering it. Alright, well thank you for stopping by, Cakes. Good luck with your art, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Alright, let's get the little slits that they're going to be going into here. This one, I don't think I'm going to bother to texturize. I think that this is fine. I might even make this a little bit darker than that. Just to really sell that it's a hole. Yeah, I think it needs to be just a touch darker. So I'll send it down, make the color a little bit more saturated and a little bit more purple. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Okay, and there we go. Now it's all woven into the coat, and now I think it's done. Like, sometimes I just want to add just one more thing. Alright, let's get into the dress. So before I go and do like all of the million frills and details on the dress, I want to get the structure of the dress in there really well. So I'm gonna hide like all the layers here. The trim can stay. That has to go. The ribbons can go. Frills can go. Pattern can go. Alright. So I'm going to start with this part. I'm not going to render it fully. And one thing that I was realizing looking at this picture yesterday is that I kind of have the folds of the dress kind of going the wrong way. The wind is blowing it this way. The folds should be twisting it the other direction. So that's the first thing I want to fix. So there will be lots of folds up by her waist here because she is, you know, leaning forward a little bit. But everything should be kind of twisting out this way. So I actually kind of want this to go a little further out, I think. Perhaps. And then I want folds to kind of be going this way. There we go. And that should match better with how her hair was blowing. So this one I picture as a thin cloth, so I'm going to have a little bit more, well, relatively thin, I should say. Thin compared to this. Thinner than this. But, I mean, it's supposed to be a warm dress, so it's not going to be that thin. So, this at her waist is probably overdoing it. But for now, I'm just going to kind of block in where I think some of these shadows should be. I'm trying to pay attention to where the light is there. And then from there, I should be able to figure out how this kind of poofs out. But I unlocked you. And I'll adjust the little bit of floof there as well when the time comes. So normally this is where I'd be going down and figuring out just all the things about the dress. And I'd probably render the dress before doing anything else. But here, my next goal is actually going to be her hands. I want to do those before I do too much more on the dress here. But I believe the sleeves are on the dress layer. Yeah, the sleeves are on the dress layer. So that's why I'm kind of caring about everything over here, just all at once. And I just kind of want to figure out where I'm going with the dress here. There we go. Let's make her nice and marshmallowy. No. This side, if it's turning that way, it should definitely fan. Yeah, let it flutter. Let's let it flutter. This is a little bit too much here. It just taken me a couple of tries to figure out what's going on. But that's okay. Eventually I'll get something that looks the way I want it to look. And it'll have all the nice folds there. I just want to emphasize the pinch at her stomach. She's like leaning forward a little bit. So there will be a little bit of a pinch at the stomach, and this will make the lean look a little bit more convincing. Okay, so that's a pretty nice little flutter, and I think once I connect the floof onto that, it should look pretty good. But I can't see the floof right now, so that means I must hide the ground. Make things look a little bit weird for a little while, but you know what? It's fine. Things can look a little weird for a little while. Happens all the time. What was I doing? Where's my trim? Here you are. That is you, right? Yeah. Okay. So this will now kind of come up here. It's got the curve like that. I definitely want to make sure to keep that. I'll go ahead and let this follow upward. And it's kind of coming out. I want it to be able to get a little bit straighter here, so that will break the pattern a little. The pattern will become a little flatter. And there we go. I think that's pretty accurate to what I was going for there. Now I can draw the little bunny. So let's see, what's the little bunny gonna do? This isn't gonna blow super hard or anything, so I don't want the bunny to be like flipping out or anything. So I think it's just gonna be kind of like this. And I'm not going to worry about any tangents with the background just yet. Pippa gets to decide how everything else in the picture is going to go. So the picture will revolve around her will. Oh, there we go. That's some floof. I'm going to turn the ground back on just because it bothers me. Anyway, yeah, so I think my next goal is going to be her hands. So I'm going to start with the sleeves. And for that, I need to hide some animals and the snowman. There we go. And now I can see where her hands are. And once I have those drawn, then I can mask out the things that she's supposed to be, like, grabbing. And this does not look like a grabby hand right now, so I'm going to fix that. I think all I really need to do is, like, if I put the animals back here so we can see the hat, I just need to make it clear that the thumb is going on top here and the rest of the hand can kind of be behind. So that's what I'll be doing with the hand. I won't render it. I won't render it fully until the other layer is on, just because this one does have some spots that go back. But this one, on the other hand, is supposed to be on top of the snowman, so I can just render it, like, right now. So let's just go do that. I'm gonna hide the coat for a second. Just so I can kind of follow the shape of her arm a little bit better. It's a little bit nonsense, because I knew that it'd be hidden, but you know what? I want to make sure that I kind of have the width of all this right. So this is the part that I will be doing first. Okay. Oh man, my nose is so itchy. Wish I knew why that kept happening. Okay. So let's see. For this, I guess I'll just keep the front and the back side on the same layer, but the idea here is just that the dress here is kind of tight around the arms and the wrist, and then it fans out at the end. So that's what I will be drawing there. Oh, do I have... Okay, so I got some random stuff on the mitten layer. I'll go ahead and hide that for a moment. Actually, okay, I gotta pee really bad, so I'll be right back. Give me just a moment here. Oh, okay, no. Not having audio trouble, let me get rid of that. We're good. I just need to be right back. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Phew, but I feel much better now. So, now I can go back to focusing on frills. Oh, thank you very much. Someday I will do some proper frill studies, but that day is not today. For now, let's just get it nice and a floof. Just a pure floof here. Yeah, that looks pretty floofy. I think I can be satisfied with this level of floof. And I'll draw the backside of this later. I'll do that after I draw the hand. So let's see here. Up here, I can kind of fake it with a wavy line, and that's been enough to get me through. But I do want to learn more about the structure of frills, so that this way I can draw slightly nicer ones. That's actually a good example of how I feel about a lot of art things in general. Just, you know, for a while, you can kind of fake anything. You can draw things and have them look pretty dang good. But then, after a while, you want them to look even better. And that's when you just gotta go in and really understand what it is that you're trying to draw. This is why I say that anatomy is not a beginner subject. And I don't think you ever have to know the names of, like, muscle groups and stuff. I don't think it's important. But for beginners, as long as you get your basic proportions down, you'll be able to make something that looks vaguely human. And it'll be fine. And then, as your skill grows, you can go in and just actually understand how humans work. And how everything connects to each other and all that good stuff. And then, after a while, if you're one of those people that just finds a certain body part really beautiful, I've seen people that just, like, really like drawing backs, for example, and just make backs or abs or, you know, whatever thing that you really like. If you just want to make them beautiful and wonderful, then you study them a little bit harder. And you just get every single detail down. So that's just kind of how I see things. And right now, I think I'm reaching the point with a lot of the stuff I draw in clothes especially, because I really do like drawing clothes, that I probably am about ready to just really get in there and actually study how they work. It's kind of weird to think about it. Because I think that'll be really just what lets me take everything I do to the next level. Which means, oh no, I'm probably gonna have to do some serious studies at some point. Or at least some serious science, and you might see me flail at certain things and just look up a million references on stream at some point, depending on whether or not I want to actually study. I probably won't. I don't do very many studies. I probably should do more. I think I'd probably improve faster that way, but I just like drawing things. I like drawing all my finished pictures. It's way more fun. Exactly. No, that's not until January. But yes, it is indeed coming. Dude, I have plans for January. It's gonna be great. I am gonna upload so many time lapses. But unfortunately, I need to rest and recover from the marathons that was Inktober and Novel November. Just so I don't go insane. I'm actually feeling a lot better. It's only been a week, but I am feeling a lot better. Because, man, doing those back-to-back took a lot out of me. Okay, so there we go. I think that's probably fine, and then I can add highlights later. And actually, I don't think I need to draw any of the inside. Yeah, I think the inside, if I were to draw like the inner circle, so you can see that this is kind of going around like this. And then the inside, if I were to draw it in there, is going to be like over here. You know, I'll break out the hot pink for a second just to demonstrate a little better. But this edge kind of goes around like this. And so I think the inside is going to be like under there. And that'll be how it wraps around her hand. Okay, so that's sufficient until I decide to go render things, I suppose. I'm going to turn her coat back on. No, not the ribbons, just the coat. And I think that's fine. Okay, and then that means this is going to have to move. I didn't actually realize that I put a potential fluffy trim on the dress, on that layer. But you know, it makes sense. I think that's a perfectly fine place for it to be. Okay, and looking at this, I made one fatal mistake with the thing I just drew, and I made it way too small. The hazards of zooming in to draw things. You lose all sense of perspective. So I'm gonna make it bigger. It must be fluffy. So freaking fluffy. There we go. Oh, that is so much better. Look at that. Like, let's just take a minute to appreciate the difference. Just making it a little bit bigger made. I mean... yeah. Okay. So now I can draw the mitten here. And you know what? This means I don't have to draw fingers, so that's actually really nice. And you know what? Since I already have something up on these layers here, I think I'm actually going to take the pink part of the mitten here and put it up on the ribbon layer. So I'm just going to get this going here. So we got the hand kind of laying flat. It's going to be super fluffy mittens, though. You know what? I should draw this while I'm zoomed out. I should stop making myself lose all perspective and thus not know how big things are. Let's see, how much of the hand do I have defined? Okay, I don't, so I can ignore it entirely. In fact, I'm just gonna go murder it, as you do. I don't need anything there. Okay. There are no hands, only mittens. Let's go. So, I think that with the way that I have this drawn, this is actually going to be covering like a significant portion of her hand. If I were to picture about how big that is, I think it covers like the entire palm and makes it so that only her fingers are sticking out. So I'm going to draw accordingly. So this is just going to be fingers. And because it's a mitten, I still don't have to draw the fingers, but I should at least kind of know what I'm trying to do. Let's see, I'm even gonna reduce the opacity a little bit here just so I can see. So her hand will be coming out here. So we have a wrist there, and then it's turning on its side. We probably have a thumb coming out here or something, and then it'll kind of go up, and then the fingers will kind of come down, and it'll do something like this. And let me see, does that feel proportionate to her face? No, I think it needs to be a little bit bigger. I'm just comparing it to the size of her face here. I tend to do most of my proportions based on the face. The face tends to be kind of my guiding star the entire way. That's why I figure it out so early. But just the nature of proportions, they're not like some weird esoteric rules that you just kind of have to memorize. It's literally how big things are relative to other things. That's what a proportion is. So And sometimes that other thing is actually the canvas itself. But most of the time it's going to be other things on the picture that you're just kind of caring a little bit about. And in this case, I'm just comparing the size of her various body parts to her face. And that's kind of how I figure out how big things should be. So since this is just her fingers, I think that this is sized appropriately. I think it actually needs to be a little bit shorter. There we go. And then the rest of her hand is in there, and I think that's okay. Maybe not. It's always hard because part of it is covered up. Why'd you deselect right away? Why you gotta be rude, Krita? Okay. There we go. That looks better. And I think that's solid there, but I do think that we see just a little bit of the, like, little paw pads that I have going there, so I'm gonna draw that on this layer. I think we see just a tiny, tiny bit right there. They're little rabbit paws, so this is gonna be one of the smaller toes. Okay. Yeah, and I think that looks pretty good. So that will be sitting on top of the snowman. So once I finish drawing that, I'm going to go put a mask on the snowman and hide the part that is in front of this hand. But I guess first I better go smooth out the edge. I'm not going to do full rendering yet. I just want to smooth the edge. And I might have to full render the glove, though. Actually, no, that's not true, because I want a fluffy part around here. Okay, I do have to fully render the whole thing. I really wanted to render the entire dress all at once, but I think I want to get these two hands done just right now. So, nah, I gotta just go through and render the hands without rendering the rest of the dress for now. Alright, gotta hide the hand for a second because I want a little bit of a fluff around the edge of the dress here. So I'm gonna plop that in now. And once I realized just how fluffy the edges here were gonna be, I was like, okay, I guess I should render it all. Because it'll be hard to mask things properly without doing that, because the fluff is gonna, you know, have all these jagged edges and stuff that are, it's gonna be shenanigans. So I gotta be careful. It may not actually be super easy to just mask that off, but I'll manage it. It'll be fine. There we go. Now it's nice and fluffy. That is super cute. I love it. And I think just a thin layer is appropriate there. It's a small frill. And let's see, do I want there to be fluff here, or do I want this to be a ribbon? I think I want that to be a ribbon. Okay. I will draw it on the ribbons layer then. And let's see. I think I want the ribbon to be sitting on top of her wrist here, so that'll put it up there. This will be just a tight little ribbon. And I will make it blue. That's not blue, that's white. That's blue. They're pretty close. Especially around the shadows, but there is a distinction. So I'm just gonna put a little ribbon around her wrist here. See, I knew I'd be putting more details on this dress as I went. I know what kind of dress I'm drawing here, so I knew that eventually it would probably get a few more ribbons and things as I went along. I just wanted to make sure that I got the general gist of the design down, so that this way, my hand knew exactly what it should be doing. And it could make these kinds of little decisions. There we go. Little tiny wrist ribbon. Okay, that looks pretty cute. I think I want to get the other one going before I go ahead and render all of this, just because that way I can texturize everything at the same time, and it'll be great. So once again, let's get the frills. Let's see, I'm gonna hide the code again just so I can kind of see where the arm is going. Only kind of, but, you know, it's better than nothing. Because I didn't draw it very firmly. It just kind of existing in a weird space there, but it'll help me figure out where things are. Even that little block hand is sufficient to kind of help me figure out how things should go. So, if we're going to base it on what I drew over here, this part should be covering most of the palm. So I will draw accordingly. Like maybe a little bit is sticking out there, but it's going to be mostly covered up. And I don't care about the colors right now. The colors will be adjusted a little bit later. I want this to floof out a little bit harder over here. Let's start kind of connecting all of this. I think this is floofing out perfectly. And this side, we actually see a little bit of the back. This will wrap around like that. But I'm going to draw it after I draw the hand. So this is only going to be the front part. I always like doing it like that because then I can kind of actually know where the edge of the backside should be and which parts are going to be covered by the hand on the backside. A lot of the time I even just go and make a different layer and just put the backside on a different layer, but I don't really feel the need to do that here. It's so small. And that'd be another layer to scroll through for the rest of the time I work on this picture, and I'm just like, no thank you. Not for something this small. Okay. So I think that kind of shape is what I want. And I can kind of see how it's all going now. So if I were to put in shadows, be like this. I just kind of testing the waters here, making sure that I kind of got things going right, but I think I do, so all is well. I'll put those down a little bit more firmly after I kind of have the edges defined the way that I want them to be. I think for this one that will also kind of include the backside. So let's see, I will go ahead and draw that part too, which means I have to get the hand first. There we go. You know, I actually haven't seen any of the concept art for Half-Life 2. I'm probably in the small minority, not necessarily looking forward to the next one, because it's not my genre, but... I can believe it. Stick figures are useful, man. They can do so much for you. I mean, just imagine if I took the time to sit there and draw that hand when I just don't need to. Like, this is fine. This is enough information for what I need. She's wearing mittens. I don't need to know where her fingers are. Alright. Speaking of which, I can give her the mittens now. Let's see, I think I had that sized right. Is it about the same size as this one? Yeah, I think so. Okay. So let's see, this, I kind of want the hat back in order to help me out, so let's go get that. Animals, reduce opacity so I can see. Like, really reduce opacity. Here we go. Okay, and I want that to be kinda grabbing the hat, so it's gonna be, like, right there. Let's see, where's my shadow color for white? Yeah, it's that one. So thumb is gonna be out doing a thumb thing, like, right here. That's way too long, because half of this is gonna be, like, under her sleeve. I'm probably way too zoomed in for this. Let me zoom out a little. I'm trying to catch myself. I have a bad habit of being too zoomed in when I'm trying to draw things. It's really no wonder my proportions are so bad. And I always have to spend a bunch of time fixing them. That'll happen when you draw too zoomed in. I wish I'd take my own advice sometimes. My art would probably be better if I did. Sometimes it's like I know what I have to do, but I don't for some reason. Life is hard. Okay, and then I think the angle of the rest of the hand is pretty okay. So let's see, do I want any, like, fingers on top here? How would you take a hat? Oh. Well, I couldn't tell if I hit the mute button in time, but that was quite a sneeze. Anyway. Okay, now I need to visualize hat grabbing. Okay. I have visualized hat grabbing. So this hand is going to be tilted much more this way. In fact, it's going to be mostly covered by the hat. So that means I don't have to draw it, which is nice. So I think something like that with the hat being underneath her thumb and probably part of her sleeve is going to get me exactly what I want. So that should be good. Let's hide the animals. Okay. So that means I don't really have to care that much about this hand at all. And yeah, that should be good, actually. So let's go ahead and draw the back part of the sleeve now. So that's gonna kind of come up here and then floof out like this. In fact, I think I can floof it a little bit more. Okay, there we go. And then once I draw the fluff on it, that should match the other one pretty nicely. And then I can draw the little ribbon I put on the wrist too. And I can just get all that there. Just thinking for a second about how I want to approach all this. Let's see, I think that her arm is a little bit thick right here. So I should fix that. And just looking at what her hand is, her wrist is a little bit higher here. So let's go ahead and just get that. I will smooth this out. And I think this is the point where I kind of perfect all my edges and get rid of all the stuff kind of sticking out where it shouldn't be. Her arm has no business sticking out of her sleeve. That's just nonsense. In a bad way for once. Okay. So now I'm gonna get the width of her arm looking a little bit better here. I'm kind of comparing it to the one on the other side, so I think... Let's see, maybe just a little bit here. And that looks pretty good to me. They look about even. So I think I'm just gonna go in and smooth things out. I'm actually gonna start with the hand here. That's gonna be the first thing I smooth. Color doesn't really matter. It just has to be the right shape. And I already know that I don't really have to care about the rest of the hand, so all of my attention is going into this thumb. I might even just make it the dark color, just so it's easy to see. And then I can colorize it after I put the hat back on. You know what? Sounds good to me. Let's do just that. Okay. Okay. And then I kind of want the tip of the thumb to go down a little bit, just so it looks like she's really grabbing that hat. So I'm going to angle this part down just a little bit more. Get the kind of shape of the thumb in there, and I think that's good. So I think that sums up that part. So now I can kind of perfect the edge here. I'm going to get the back part there before I worry about the front part. I just find that a little bit easier. There we go, and now I can safely really just smooth out this part. Let's see, and then we have kind of where the frills start, right about there. This is mostly just to help me see. It will be covered up by... It'll be covered up by the wrist ribbon later, once I go draw it. Okay. And most of this, I think, is already pretty smooth, so that's nice. Very nice indeed. Okay. Okay, and I think that's all pretty good. I'm gonna hide the mittens for a little bit, just so I can draw the little trim on her sleeve here. So that'll be that color, and let's get that on there. I'm just paying attention to how the frills kind of go in and out. Trying to keep the width relatively consistent. Oh, there's like something else back there. What is that? I have no idea. Let's see. I can't see because of it, so I gotta get rid of it. Is it something in the mountains? No. Is it like a piece of a... No, but okay, it might be a piece of a cloud. Okay, so I got some clouds down there. That's probably actually a problem. But you know, that's a problem for future me. The future me that's gonna wrangle the background. I don't really care right now. Right now I'm drawing a rabbit girl, and that's fine. That is for later. Okay, so that should be fine. Now I need the hand back so that this way... I'm even gonna turn my clouds layer back on. But I need that all back so that this way I know where the what's it called? The trim here that I just drew should end. It needs to go behind the hand. That I actually want to get real close for. There we go. Okay, and there we go. And now I have wrist ribbon. And that'll be like the last detail there, and then I can kind of start rendering it all out. And then I can start masking out the parts of the foreground that I need to. So let's see, this is going to be sitting on top. The ribbon is sitting on top of the wrist, which is actually going to be on the back side there. So we don't see the ribbon. As you can see, our hand is kind of tilted sideways there. It's probably like right about here. So I guess we might see like maybe just a little bit of one of the tails right here. Just like a tiny piece of it. But it'll be behind this. So I'll go ahead and just draw it like that. Because I think that with the angle that her hand is at, the top of her wrist is like right here. I think that is accurate. So we will see just the little tiny sliver of it here, and I'm trying to get that tiny little sliver to be very tiny little sliver-like. There we go. Let it just peek its little head out in a very small way. It's shy, you see. Okay. So that's good, and yeah, that's the final detail there. So let's go make it look nice. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna start with just the sleeve itself. The little tiny bit of sleeve that we see. And I'm just gonna start brushing things on. So let's get my pink colors in there. I already kind of have all the edges defined, so it's fine. I can just go in and get started. Just a little bit of shadow on the edge of that. And probably a lot of shadow over here, actually. From the coat. You know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna make the whole thing shadow. That's fine. Now I get to play around with frills. I do kind of like drawing them. This is why I keep saying I really need to get around really understanding how they work. Find a solid way to draw them. This way I can draw way more frilly outfits and it won't take me 10 hours. That sounds fantastic to me. No, I wanna render this at 100%, not 200. Okay. I'm not worried about kind of the additional folds I got in there right now. I just want the main structure. I needed those in order to see things, but now I don't. I trust. I trust what I have down. So I can just carry on nice and easily. Okay. I don't think these are the kind of frills that I intended to draw. These don't have that kind of structure. I think that's the right word. But you know what? I think they look fine, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not gonna worry about it. See, this is why I really want to learn how to draw frills, because there are so many different kinds of frills. And they all do something a little bit different. And they can give you so many different little vibes. And I would just love to figure out kind of those details. Someday my understanding will improve. I believe in myself. Okay, and that's probably fine. I'm gonna go ahead and put just a little bit of light on a couple of the sides here. And then I'm gonna go back and add just, you know, some of those dark spots where things get really crumpled up and squished together over there. But I just feel like this needs just a little bit of light. You know, maybe I should have done the dark spots first. But, you know, it's fine. It'll be okay. That looks good. Okay. Now I can get those little spots that I think are just really being squished together. Just like that. And I'm gonna kind of taper out the edge here into nothing. That one I think can stay like that. This one I think should be gradated. So I will do that. And right there. Okay. That looks pretty good, I think. So I'm gonna go do the same with the other side before I go messing with anything else. This side is like way in the light, so I'm not gonna do that much with shadows. Most of that is gonna start kind of getting faded into the sun here. So I'm gonna keep things pretty simple. Shadow on this, not even gonna go all the way out to the edge. It doesn't need to. It's fine right there. On this side, I didn't draw out quite as thoroughly because I was feeling a little bit more confident in my frills. So I didn't really feel the need to make sure that I was doing it right. That's why the other side is more detailed, incidentally. I drew that side first. And so I wasn't quite sure if I had it right, so I just kept poking at it until I was pretty sure that I was doing it right. And then I just repeated the process over here. See, this is why I'm going back and forth here. I'm doing one area on one side, and then I'm doing the same area on the other side. Just so that this way I can repeat what I just drew, and it should come out closer to the same. It's still in my muscle memory. It's still fresh in my mind. So I'll just be able to repeat my steps, and it should work out pretty well. In theory. And then I can just worry about the subtle differences between the two of these, which is going to be that this one has a little bit of the back, this one's a little bit more in the light. Those kinds of things. Okay. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good, so let's get some of the light in there. I'm just gonna steal from here rather than use my highlight color, because I want to fade it. That's the right way to put it. I kind of want it to kind of start merging with the background a little bit. It's not necessarily exactly the same as a highlight, in around these spots at least. Okay. But I will get some normal highlight just right through here. Right through there. Okay, that's a very bright looking sleeve, and I think that is fantastic. Okay. I think I want, now that I look at it, just a touch of shadow underneath the fluffy parts. Gotta be very sparing with it through here. I might even go over it with the yellow one more time. But I just want little touch. Little tiny touch. Yeah, I think right here needs a little bit of the yellow back. Okay. But you know, it's easy enough to do. I missed a spot. There we go. It can be easy to miss a spot. Okay, let's make this have its presence now. Just put some tiny shadows through a couple of spots there. And there we go. So I think I'm gonna go do... Yeah, I think I'll do the mittens first, which is while I'm down here. And then I can just scroll up and do all the stuff on the coat layers. Because I didn't feel like making another layer. Okay, so for this, I kind of have to tease the edges a little bit. So let's go get my smudge tool. And I'll make them nice and fluffy. No. There we go. Very important that I take what's inside and push it out, as opposed to taking the void that is around the edge and pushing it in. There we go. That looks pretty fluffy. How fluffy it is. I like it a lot. It makes me happy. Okay, and I'll go do the same on the other side. But for this side, I really only care about the thumb, so that's all I'm gonna do. Okay, for that, I do kind of have to hide the sleeve a little bit. Because I'm gonna have to... I am gonna have to... fix the edge here. And that's just how it is. Okay, that should be good. And now I can grab this and just erase a little bit here. And all the way up here. And now it'll have the right floof. Okay, and now I can go back and color it. Oh yeah, those look so fluffy. Look how fluffy they look. I get to make everything in this picture fluffy. It's fantastic. Okay, so I definitely want a shadow from the sleeve here. It's gonna be a pretty big one, and then just a little shadow on the bottom there. And I'll put just a little tiny bit of light out in the thumb, just so I can say, make it clear that there is a thumb there. There we go. I'm gonna go smooth it out with the smudge tool again. This is Krita's textured smudge brush. And I'll just make it fluffy. Very important. It must be fluffy. Thus declares me. Okay, and then I think I want just a little bit of a darker spot right around the thumb, since that thumb is kind of pressing up against the rest of her hand, just like right here. And that I will also make fluffy. Cannot skimp out on the fluffiness, even for small things. There we go. Okay, and I think that looks pretty good. I will get the little part of the paw pad on her mittens afterward. I'm a little bit sad that that's going to be covered up, but, you know, such is life. Wait, we don't see the little paw pad design I came up with on either side. It's a little sad. But it is what it is. Alright, then here, let's fluff it up again. I think that's fine, and then I'll add, you know, the little bit of light that needs to be in there, and that I don't actually think I need to fluff. So there we go. There's the thumb. While I'm in a floof drawing mood, let's go ahead and get this part of the floof. I'll go make it fluffy. And just keep repeating that until it's all done. Everything must be fluffy. That is too zoomed in. There we go. So I'm trying to be careful here, because this I want to be more like a cotton ball fluff, as opposed to a fur fluff. That's why I'm not using the other brushes that I was using to make things fluffy. This is strictly cotton ball-y. And I think that has a slightly different feel than what I was doing to make the bunnies fluffy. Fluffy fur. So I'm being very careful with the smudge tool here. It's really easy to overdo it. And I don't want to do that. It'll make things look less fluffy, actually. You can go way too far. Okay. Yeah, and then once this side is done, I can go and do the other side, and that'll be that. Then it'll be time to mask things off on the other layers, and then I can actually leave them on without it getting in the way, and that'll be awesome. Because I don't think anything else in the foreground is supposed to have some parts that cover Pippa and some parts that don't. Yeah, because like there's the bunny on her foot, but that's supposed to be just firmly in front of her. So I don't think I have to pull any more shenanigans to get what I want here. So that'll be nice. I always like not having to pull shenanigans. It feels good. I'm just, while I'm rendering all this out and doing all the brain dead stuff, I'm just thinking of what needs to be done still, because I've got most of the animals done. I might end up adding a few more. There's still, like I said, a couple of compositional things that are kind of bothering me, but I figured I'd just get a little further in the drawing and get to the point of, like, lighting. You know what? I don't even want clouds down here. I'm just going to erase them. They're getting in the way again. I hate it. Okay, clouds, get out of here. What are you even doing down there? You don't belong there. Okay. There we go. Let's go back up to the fluff. And let's see, this edge. I don't need to fluff out that part because that part's going behind the finger. And I do not actually want it to be fluffy there. It's supposed to disappear behind there, so the finger decides where the edge is. In fact, I think I'm going to have to go back and clear some things again, but that's okay. I can do that. Texturizing is always a little bit time-consuming. But I think that this will probably be like... Well, no, there's still one fluffy part left. There's probably a couple of fluffy parts left. Oh, well, hello there, what's that? Abmodius. Thank you very much. I'm glad you like it. I've been having a lot of fun drawing it. Okay. So now it's all fluffy. Okay, but let me see. I do think I have to erase a little bit around the thumb again. Just a little bit right up there. Okay. There we go. But yeah, things are coming along. I have a lot of the layers hidden right now, but they are coming along. And I like the way this picture's coming out. Alright. So now it's time to just get the basic shading in. And then afterwards I'll make it fluffy again. I might need a darker color in that mitten there now that I think about it. Because yeah, there's a dark spot there. Okay, I'm actually gonna go do that now because otherwise it'll bother me. Okay, so just right there. A little bit of a darker spot right there. And that I do kind of have to fluff out. Fluff, 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 fluff. Must be fluffy. Okay, that's fine. Yep, that is fine. So now, just gotta do the same over here. This entire side is gonna be dark. Actually, strictly speaking, it's gonna be light. I have never used Psy, but, you know, Krita is a pretty good little program, and it's free. So, I've never really seen the reason to try other things. The only other program that I have any experience with is Photoshop, but I do think that Krita, for drawing specifically, is way better than Photoshop. It feels much better to use. But, I mean, it makes sense, because, like, Photoshop is a photo editing program, not a drawing program, so... But, yeah, I don't have any experience with any other ones. I've never felt the need to switch away from Krita. Yeah, it's very nice, highly customizable. And because it's open source, people make, you know, plugins for things all the time. You can do literally whatever you want, because if you know how to code, you can change it however you want. I do make a point of using free and open source stuff whenever I can. Alright, so I'm just gonna finish off fluffing this part out. I don't think I'm gonna put lights on this. I think it's fine just like that. The lights would be so minimal, but I will bring on the sun here and kind of fade some of this into the background. Same thing I was doing before, so not exactly highlights, just blending things. There we go. Okay, and I think that's that fluffy part done, so now I just got the little ribbon. Oh yeah, and I guess the little paw pad there too. I think that's on the same layer. Yeah. I think this part is going to be mostly dark. So I'll just color that in right now. Looks good to me, and I think I will kind of smudge the edge a little bit here just to make it look like the fluff from the mitten is kind of overlapping it. There we go. So make it look a little bit more part of the mitten instead of, I don't know, just floating there on top very awkwardly. Okay, so I think most of this is actually going to be in shadow here. I'll go ahead and put just a little bit of the lighter spots kind of on the ribbon parts. Not going to spend very much time putting details on this, it's so tiny. So it doesn't need very much help, I don't think. It's just a nice little extra detail. Okay, so there we go. I think that's all it really needs. So now I'll do the same thing over here. This guy is going to be like entirely blended into the sun, so I think that's probably all I really got to do here. So I'll just get that in there, a little bit of light on the top, and there we go. So that's the sleeves, and now I can actually start turning my layers back on and masking off the parts that are going to be covered up. So I'm going to add a transparency mask here, and I'm going to go ahead and select her mittens. Yeah, I can't really see the thumb shape, alas. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. I made like 5 different top hat layers for some reason. I only need it up here. Actually, you know what? I still think the top hat looks good, so I'm just gonna merge them all together, because otherwise... I can't do it in that order. There we go. Because otherwise it's just gonna drive me nuts, and I'll have to, like, make the 3 transparency masks, and it'll all be very particular, and I don't want to deal with it, so I'm just gonna merge them. Sometimes it's nice to be lazy. It'll be okay. I can make it work. Okay, so first I want to mask out the sleeve here. The sleeve, I think, is going to be on top. Just because this is, like, a ridiculously fluffy sleeve. Like, super ridiculously fluffy. Okay, and now... let's reduce the opacity of the hat so I can see the thumb and the area that needs to be masked out there. I do want to make sure that it keeps its fluffiness. That's very important. The mittens are fluffy, so they must be fluffy. Okay, so like right through here. I probably should have just erased the rest of her hand, honestly, because now I have to pull some shenanigans, but it's okay. It's not a very big shenanigan. It'll be fine. Just kind of push the visible area around a little bit. There we go. Okay, and there we go. I think those are all the parts kind of on top of the hat there. So now I just gotta do the same thing with the snowman. I'm gonna see if I can get away with keeping the snowman details on their own layer. Oh, welcome back, Blood Bullet. I'm gonna see if I can get away with just keeping the details in their own layer. I don't think Pippa's hand ever covers that. So let's see here. Let's see here. I'm just gonna paint all of this in black. You are not doing what I expect you to. Oh, I put you on the wrong one. Herpaderp. Okay, let's try that again. Deselect that so I don't mess with the transparency mask here. There we go. Mistakes were made, but it's easy to fix, so there we go. Okay, where's the fluffy part? There's the fluffy part. Let's get her mittens. Right there. And I think that's it. So now her hand is on the snowman as it should be. It's got, like, I don't know, some kind of ugly stuff around here. So I'm gonna go back into the mask and kind of airbrush some white on this. Just to kind of clean up that edge. It looks really bad. I don't like it at all. And then I can do a little bit more shading on the snowman and give Pippa's hand some presence here. Yeah, that is extremely ugly. Holy cow. Anyway. Fortunately, I can fix it. Okay, and I see that we have a little bit of a bunny ear on top of her sleeve too, so I'll want to add just a little bit of shadow on that as well. But first, let's go ahead and get that little bit of shadow on the snowman. I just want to finish off Mr. Snowman here. Her hand is like right up against it, kind of pressing in. So I want kind of the dark shadow right there. And then I'll have a slightly lighter one kind of out on the back here. Because this one's not pressing in. This one is just kind of on top. Get the shadow from the sleeve in there, and there we go. Let's go ahead and get some of the surrounding colors, breaking that up a little. There we go. I think that looks a little bit nicer. But yeah, now her hand is on the snowman, as it should be. let's go ahead and put the shadows from the bunny's ears onto her dress. Be nice and easy. There we go, and then the fluffy part. There we go. See, it doesn't take much at all. Okay. Am I satisfied with that? I don't think I am, actually. What is wrong? I think I need a little bit more of my lovely lighter shadow just messing around over there. Okay, there we go. It didn't look like it was showing up for a second there. I also kind of don't like the color. Did I use a different color for all this? I guess I was probably using the snow colors, huh? That would actually explain why I hate it all. Okay. Yeah, because I'm not using the white on her dress. I'm using the kind of gray blue like this. Okay. So that minor error there, but I can fix it. It's easy enough to fix. Oh yeah, that's so much better. Now all the colors match again. Okay. And I can get the dark one and plop that under her hand. Just let her fingers kind of sink into the snowman a little. And that is much better. It helps to use the right color. It's very helpful. One of those whoops moments, but oh well, it happens. Yeah, now it looks like she's holding on to the hat. She's got her hand on the snowman. And I can get started rendering the rest of the dress here. So I have to think about how I want to do this, because there are like a million little details on this thing. I have them all hidden right now because it's kind of a thing. So I gotta think about how I want to tackle this. I think it's too soon to be rendering the pink part. But the pink part kind of determines where a lot of the other details are gonna go. So I gotta do enough of it that I feel confident about placement. So I kind of at least gotta get it started. I don't think I have much choice there. So I'm not going to smooth out the edges just yet. I'm just going to kind of rough in where I think all the shadows are going to go and kind of what they're going to look like. So a little bit neater than what I have, but not much. Not much. But they do gotta be kind of close to their final state. Because otherwise I will not place any of the other details correctly. And it'll all look bad and I'll have to redo everything and I'll be complaining all the time and nobody wants to hear that. So let's get a little bit more in there. Especially around here. Because this is where just... There's a lot of stuff happening. Okay. Okay, yeah, this is working for me. This is working out just fine. That's why I said, I just kind of gotta block it out. Just gotta understand what's happening. And once I do, then I can safely go in and place all of the other details, because, you know, there's some that are just like part of the dress. This part is just the dress, but yellow. And if I don't have these folds placed, I'm gonna draw it wrong. And then I'll have to, you know, redraw it all later, and that just sounds terrible, so let's just understand what's going on here. Always just one step at a time. And the cloth here I do picture as moderately thick, but much thinner than this. Like, this is a nice, like, thick wool thing going on. And this, I think, is just more of, like, a thicker cotton. So just your typical winter dress. So that's kind of where I'm paying attention to the folds. And I do think that the folds here should be a little bit more rounded off at the end. Because the cloth is a little bit on the thicker side, and that's just what thick cloth does. So I do want to make sure that I get those shapes right. There's going to be a little shadow cast from the snowman here. Not much. Because, you know, the light source is this way, so the cast shadow actually kind of goes in the other direction. But I just like to have a little bit of shadow separation since I don't use lines. So, it's not realistic, but I think it looks good. It's okay, if you need to sleep, then, you know, it's important to go get sleep. Never compromise your sleep. And thanks for stopping by. I do hope you're able to get some good sleep so you'll feel better. And then you can go do all the things. All right, well, thank you very much. Okay, now I can kind of focus on the rest of the little folds through here. I think over here is probably going to have some highlights, so I'll get those in as well. You know, just the basics of them. But I think that this is all coming together pretty well. I'm quite pleased. I am. I think it's looking pretty good. Okay, and then this part I don't think is super important, but I'll get the way that I think the fold should be sitting on her over here as well. Right now I think that this is way overdone, so I'm actually just going to plop most of this back into shadow. The cloth looks a little bit too thin, and I'm going to try to be a little bit more deliberate about my placement here. So this is where it's going to become clear that she's, like, leaning forward. So there's going to be a pinch on her stomach. I say this often, but that's because it's important, and I want to really emphasize that pinch on her stomach. Because that is an important structural component. It's really, really important. It basically defines the entirety of the pose, and I think that's good. I think that's all I really need, and I think that does show the pinch in her stomach quite well. Looking on the outside, though, I think I want to straighten out this part here. I think the extra curve I have in there is unnecessary. So I will adjust the shading accordingly. I don't mind having like maybe just a tiny little bump there, but it'll be a tiny one. Okay. So now I still think this looks like a bell-shaped dress kind of being blown slightly to the left with the wind, kind of matching what's going on with her hair. So I'll put a few little lights on there, because like here's going to be in the light. There's going to be like a strong light right through here and on here. This is very much going to be lit, and then there's going to be some less prominent lights just kind of through this. Kind of just helping me define some of those bends. Where things are twisting a little bit. And I think that's good. So I think that's where I will leave the shading on this for now. It's not fully cleaned, but I do think that I have everything structurally correct, and that's kind of what matters right now. So I'm going to start turning on my other layers. And this is where things are going to get interesting. So I think the things that I need to define first are this yellow part, and then the things that's going to hold the buttons going down her shirt. Or not her shirt, but the top part of her dress. So I think that's what's going to be important there. So I'm going to start with those. I think I'm going to start with the buttons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the opacity, and so this way I can see where I drew the folds underneath. And that will help me define how things move around, and I will make it fluffy afterward. Because make no mistake, this will be fluffy. It must be. So I got a fold dipping into here, so I think that there will be a little cut here going down, and then it'll come out. And then we got this fold really cutting into here. So it'll do something like this, and then kind of come down into the fold over there. And this is going to look weird for a second, because I haven't done the other side. So with this part cutting in here, it'll pop out over here. With this part popping out over here, it'll cut in over here. So this will basically do the exact mirror of whatever I had going on the other side. And right now, I think that these edges are too sharp. I do need to round them out, because this is, you know, supposed to be very fluffy, very soft. But doing it like that did kind of help me get the basics down. So, you know, that was worth. It was worth doing. So this part will come out a little bit over here. You can see now it's kind of following the folds I have drawn. And then it'll be flat at the bottom, but I'm not too worried about the bottom because it's going to get covered up by frills. And I'm not going to fully render all of these details yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get it started, and then I'm going to get every other detail on the dress started, sans just patterns. So like there's a bunny pattern on this yellow part down here. I'm not going to draw that yet. I'm gonna save that for the very end after everything is mostly rendered. I won't fully render this part probably, but I just want to get everything going. And because this is fluffy, I don't need to have the edges super clean or anything. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let them be a little bit rough. I don't need to spend a lot of time on that. Okay, this doesn't quite look like it's part of her dress yet, so I'm going to go work it a little bit more. Right now, it still feels like a separate entity laying on top to me, so I really need to work it into the folds a little bit more. This is exactly why I needed to know exactly where those folds were. Because otherwise, I would never be able to get this right. This is exactly why I said that if I didn't get those right now, I would get everything else wrong. So I just wanted to take the time to kind of figure it out. Okay. And yeah, I think that's pretty all right. So I'm going to go put in shadows and highlights as I see necessary. There's probably a little tiny highlight there. Most of this is going to be in shadow from the coat. And just from, you know, the way she's bending. But I think there are a few spots that are going to be a little bit lighter. Just a few. Kind of right through there. Okay, and that looks like it's part of her dress now, so I'll go ahead and make the edges fluffy, but I'm not going to render the rest just yet. I do want to know where the edges are, though, because there's going to be some frills around here that are going to be underneath this, And if I do not have the edges fully defined, I cannot draw those properly. So let's go ahead and make it fluffy. And I'll leave it there. I will render out the rest after. Same with the buttons. I don't think I need to draw the buttons yet. They're not really a structural component, and there's nothing but fluff under them. And this is the part that will really sell things being kind of fluffy. Here, I think this part is kind of disappearing behind this fold, which is not fluffy. So I actually do not want to make that part fluffy. So I'm actually going to go put it back. This part should have the same texture as the cloth in front of it. So better fix that. This side, however, is fully fluff. It is all fluff all the time. I'm just kind of dabbing with the textured smudge brush here, because all I am really trying to do, I want, you know, the more of the, like, cotton ball fluff, as opposed to the fur fluff that I was doing for the animals. So there we go. It is totally fine that it cuts off at the bottom. There's going to be frills there, and the frills will define the bottom of that, so that they'll be on top. Don't gotta worry about it. I will, however, get this yellow part now. Okay, I was debating on whether or not I just kind of wanted to start over, but I don't think I do. So let's see here. I'm thinking about how this actually will work. So I think we go around there, and then there's going to be a part. Are you pulling up? Yeah, so this part will actually be higher up here. So we'll have a kind of rounder part here, and then it'll come back down and go over there. And then whatever I do to one side, I gotta fix up on the other. This one I'm having a little bit of a harder time seeing than I was on this one. So I'm gonna take it slow and be very particular about how I handle things. I might need to restart this. Maybe. Well, no, it's working out. Okay. And this part should go down now. I'm gonna keep it pretty rough. This part, strictly speaking, doesn't have anything underneath it, so I don't need to smooth out the edges just yet. I just need to know where it is. I just need to know where it is. Okay, and since this is the shadow now, this part will be going down, and this part will be going up. This part will be going down, and this part up, with a little tiny divot, like, right there. Okay, and right now this side is looking much thicker than this side, so that tells me I gotta make this part thicker. Kinda through here. Then we'll have another little divot downward, like there, maybe. Just a little one. Okay, how are we looking so far? And if I were to, like, set you to overlay or something... color, maybe? Does it feel okay? Like, the color being terrible aside, does it feel like it is going through the highlights and shadows well? Mostly. I'm gonna fix up the couple of spots that I think could use a little bit more work. But I think it looks mostly like it's out on top and folding along with the skirt. Okay. So there we go. That'll be where a little pattern on the skirt's gonna go, and let's see. I think this part is still a little bit thicker than the rest, so I'm gonna kind of make it a little thinner. There we go. And yeah, let's just try to get the rest of the details in her dress in. I'm just gonna block them in. And then next time I can fully render it all. So let's see here. Gotta just match where the shadows are. I'm not gonna put any lights on it yet. Just some shadows. A lot of this will probably need a little bit of adjustment, but you know, you gotta start somewhere, so let's just match what I already have. No problem at all. Okay, yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I think it looks like it's part of the cloth, so we should be good there. The pattern I'll do later. The buttons I'll do later. So what else do we got here? We got the big ribbons, we got the small ribbons, and then we got the details on this. So you know what? I think this is a good time to do the fluffy trim. Once again, I'm not going to get things too smooth. I might not even... No. Let's floof this out. Let's really define that edge. Let's figure out where things are going to go. I'm going to hide the ground for a second while I figure out what's going on here. And because this is going to be fluffy, I do not have to very carefully define edges. I think what I have here is mostly fine. I just want to make sure that things are proportionate. And that it all is existing where I want it to exist. So like, oh, this is looking fine to me. The bunny heads, I think, could use a little bit of work, though. I want to get their ears to be, like, more consistent in size. And their heads to be a little bit more consistent in size. And kind of get them all pointing the way that I want them to. There's, like, you know, a gentle little breeze going on here. I think I can even make them sway a little bit harder in a few places. This guy, I actually think, even though I want him to sway that way a little bit more, he needs to come a little further this way. And then I can make him sway. And this guy, I think, needs to come this way. There we go. Okay. And then I can start going for a little bit of consistency in here. So I'm just comparing each bunny to each other. Let's see. I'm going to start with just the general width here. I do think that these two bunnies look like they're about the same width, but this one I think looks a little bit thinner. So I'm going to make him a little thicker here. And I'm going to make this ear go out a little bit more. Okay. So this level of thickness looks fine across the board. So now let's get the ears going. Make them all look about the same thickness relative to each other, about the same length relative to each other. And I can go from there. There we go. So this is all about consistency for now. Let's see, I think this guy has to be a little bit longer. This one's just not swaying in the wind quite as hard. He should probably sway a little bit harder too. Let's get him going a little bit further that way. Oh yeah, that's much better. That is much better. Okay, and I'm gonna break a little bit there just so I can really get the side of this going well, and then I'll just put the bottom part here back. Okay. And once again, because this is all going to be fluffed out, I am not going to worry too much about getting the edges smooth. Because I'm going to be breaking up those edges anyway. So there's no point. I hope so. That was kind of my goal. I really wanted it to be done before Christmas. See, this is why I really want to learn how to draw faster. I like my art. I think it looks really good. I just want to draw more things, and I want to be able to respond to what's going on. Because then I could actually do, like, events. And, you know, there was the whole thing with Kanata graduating recently, and I was like, you know, if I could draw faster and was confident that I could actually finish a drawing in a day, I could have taken a break from drawing stuff to draw a picture of her. And all of that, but... the speed is not there yet. I'm working on it. That is like my #1 goal for next year. I want to be able to finish a drawing in a single stream. Maybe not something quite like this, you know, with all the background and all the stuff, but just something small. And I want to do it in a way that doesn't completely stress me out and make me upset. So, because, like, strictly speaking, I could if I draw a faceless silhouette. Yeah, but you know that's not really what I want to draw. I like to draw like that sometimes, but I also want to draw a lot of nicer things. So, I am hopeful that this will be done before Christmas. I think I'm well on my way, because the background is probably not going to take as long as it looks. If it's anything like how the drawing of Chibidoki went, drawing a forest does not take very long. You can really fake it, and it's great. So, I think once I draw Pippa here, that'll be like... probably a good 75% of the picture done. Especially since I've already gotten most of the animals. Unless I decide to draw more, which is actually likely. Like, in the foreground, I feel like there was something missing in part of the foreground, so I was thinking of just drawing a big blurry bird there, for example. But that's not like something super detailed or anything. I do not trust myself with these proportions. I'm not gonna fluff this out today. I'm gonna fluff it out next time. But I think I got the basics correct in here. But I want to make sure that these ears are close to all the same length. Like, I don't know, they look like they're getting a little bit long over here. Gonna shave it down just a little. But I want to keep this in a state where it'll be easy to edit, so I think that's as far as I go here for now. And I think that's fine. That's a good start. So, let's go ahead and do some frills. Because I think that these are going to be the next big thing, and this I am actually straight up just going to delete and get on there. I had to draw them like that in order to make sure that I liked the design. But now I gotta actually make them look good. So here we go. They're gonna follow this. Did I have it on the top and the bottom? Oh shoot. You know, maybe I shouldn't delete them. I'm gonna duplicate. Delete. And then I have this in case I need to reference my design. And no, I didn't have them on the top. I had bows at the top. That's right. I remember now. Okay, but I at least got a reference for myself. Okay. So let's get these in there. I'm gonna leave them fairly rough for now. Just because frills are hell, and I have so many frills to draw. And only 20 minutes to do it. Why do they have to look so good, man? Why do they have to look so good? Why do they have to be so cute? How am I gonna do this? Okay, I can't do it like this. Okay, I'll do those ones in a second. I'm gonna go get the ones on the button holder, because I think those ones will be a little easier. Okay, so this I can just kind of go back and forth on. Draw it like that, and it'll be fine. Okay, and then over the same on the other side. Just kind of go back and forth a little bit. Okay, so I think that like that is fine. Maybe another little divot here. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay, and up there, and that's good. So then I had some stuff going around the waist. I'm a little bit terrified of those. Same reason I'm terrified of those ones. So I'll hold off, and then I think I just got the ones going across here, like ribs. So let's do it. You know, maybe I should do those on a different layer. Because otherwise I think I will drive myself insane. So we'll have a little line here, little line here, little line here, line there, line there, line there. And that's where the frills will go. Just some little tiny guys. And then the ones down here, I think are going to be hidden by this fold. So there we go. Gotta hide the coat trim for a second, so this way I can see where these are. Yeah, I think I might be in frill hell for a little while, guys. Oh my god. I decided to make so many. Oh no. Oh well, it's fine. Okay. So now I can pretty safely get those separately. Let's try to get the ones on the waist. Yeah, I just got some on the waist here. Oh man. Oh man. Yeah, so see how... Oh god, I'm a fake fan. I can't even remember what the name of her currency was. Mind blanking. Oh no! Oh well. Such is life. Side effect of drawing for 3 hours. I get tired. Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'm sure Pippa will be doing great, but now that Pippa will have a nice vacation home in the mountains. Maybe it'll put her in a better mood. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull some shenanigans, that's fine. I'll pull shenanigans later. Basically, the frills here need to be on top of the button holder, but the frills up here need to be below the button holder, and I can't have both at once. It's just no good. So I'm gonna have to erase part of the button holder later, and I just don't feel like doing that right now. I just don't feel like doing that right now, so I'm not gonna. I'll do it later. I'm just gonna block in the rest of this. What's going on here? This part goes down, this part goes up. Okay. There are days that I always want to draw more, but this is one where I think I've probably hit my limit by this point. The stuff I had to do today was a little bit more difficult than the stuff I had to do last time. Man, and I don't even think those look good. I don't like them at all. These ones are fine. These ones are fine for what they are. I just don't even think this looks good right here. Blah. Okay. I think I might draw those later, so let's go find a different one to do. Because there's more. I can do some ribbons. Ribbons are easy. Especially these giant ones. Those ones are going to be super easy, so let's just go ahead and do that. I don't think I'm going to do the little ones. I think I might just stop after the big ones. As much as I wanted to get the last few details here done, nah, not gonna happen. It's okay. I will finish them next time. But I can get some of these big guys in here. And let's see, they need, the center of this needs to be a little bit more clear. I'm gonna draw the dangly parts later. I'm just gonna erase them for now. I know that they exist. I will not forget because they are cute. It's easy to remember things when they are cute. I might have the energy to draw them today. We shall see. You know what? I hate everything about these. I don't want to clear the blue ones yet, but I will clear the yellow ones for now. I just want to remember that the blue ones are supposed to be there. Okay. Oh, and there's a little hole right there. Okay, I'll fix that later. I haven't defined the outlines of the dress yet. I just kind of plop down some basics. Okay, so there's a big ribbon there. I'm gonna kind of round out this side a bit, and just to make my life easier, I'm also gonna put in the kind of inside part that we see inside of. It helps me understand the perspective, so that's worth. I'll go ahead and do that. And let's see, how am I feeling about your shape, Mr. Ribbon? Not great, but easily fixed. Very, very easily fixed, in fact. And there we go, that's much better. There. Okay, and that looks much better than what I had before, so I am happy. So the center of this one will be sitting like right about there. This will also kind of affect the folds on the dress a little bit, since, you know, the ribbons are presumably at least somewhat tied and not just glued onto it. I get the feeling that in some Lolita dresses they are straight up glued to it, but I'm not making low quality slop here, so we're doing it right. They're gonna be properly sewn in and sturdy and strong. Only properly tailored dresses here. Okay, and this one should be, like, more seen a little bit straight on. So I think it'll be about the same on both sides. So I'm going to go for something like this. This one not tilting nearly as much as that one, which I do think makes this look a little bit small. So I'll make it a little bit bigger. A little bit the same width on each side. And let's see, I'm gonna get my inside bit here to help me see a little bit better. Okay. And I think this part needs to come out a little bit more like that, and I think that's good. So let's get the last one in here. And looking at the time, I do think I will have enough time to draw the dangly bits too. So, there we go. This way I won't forget them. I mean, I didn't think that there was any chance that I would forget them anyway, but, you know, it's reassuring. You are a little bit too high. I want it to be like right on the top of the peak of the trim. That's where I've been putting the ribbons. And I've already seen from when I drew this before that none of the ribbons over behind the snowman show, so I'm not going to draw them. I don't need to worry about it. Not at all. So I can save myself some trouble. Okay. There's the inside of the ribbon, and let's see. I do indeed need to correct your shape a little bit. Only a little bit, though. And then down here, I think you come in a little bit too much. And I think you're also a little bit too long. Don't worry, if you're too small compared to the other ribbons, I will make you bigger. But you must be proportionate to yourself first. Very important. I want the top of the bottom to be about the same size. And indeed, I did draw you a little bit small, so here we go. These ribbons are freaking massive. Perfect. Okay. So I'll go draw the dangles. Yeah, this way makes more sense. Gonna start with the ribbony part. Okay, and this one will go out here. It'll overlap the ribbon a little bit. There we go, and then I can draw the puff balls. And finally, I can give those little puffballs ears. The little X'd out faces on them are going to come later. And these will get the fluff treatment at the end. So I'm not really concerned about the edges. And I also don't really feel the need to add any further detail for the time being. This is fine. And then they will be fluffy. Later. There we go. And then I want the width of these little tails to be a little bit more consistent all the way through. So I'm going to make them a little bit thicker in a few places. But there we go. I think that's it for ribbons, and that's probably about half of the random details on her dress. Because, man, I put a lot of things on here. She is a wonderful marshmallowy cake. But I'll go ahead and turn the other layers on for now, just because it makes me happy. They don't really match up with anything yet, but that's all the details that are going to be on the dress there. I'll go ahead and turn on my lighting. It only exists on Pippa right now. The animals will have some later, but they are so far off that I just prefer to leave it off for now. Turn on the foreground again, turn off the swatch, and this is where we're leaving it for today. So, yeah, not bad progress. I finished off her coat, got all her hands and stuff done. Everything is now overlapping properly, and probably got a good half of the details on this nonsense dress here. So, because, yeah, there's a lot on there. So I think I should be able to finish the dress next time. And you know what? If I'm lucky, maybe I can even get her boots and her hair. The hair will be quick. You know, I shouldn't say that. I should never say that about anime hair. That is just tempting fate. The hair will be hair. It'll be done when it's done. But nonetheless, I do kind of hope I can finish her off next time, and then I can... What's left? I gotta draw some more animals. I gotta do the animal lighting. I might do Pippa and animal lighting at the soonest opportunity. I got some things in the background I want to correct. Like, I as much as I really like this gap in the mountains here, I don't know if it makes sense. So I might not be able to do that. I might need to find a different solution. Because, I don't know, it's making this entire area just not look nearly as mountainous, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Trees are trees. They'll be easy. I'm not really that worried about it. They're all in the distance. And, oh yeah, I have the snow turned off. I should turn that back on too. There we go. So I'll have to draw the snow, but that's another thing that's relatively straightforward. The cabin is far enough back that I think it'll be fine. I think I might want it to be a little bigger than that, but I haven't decided yet. This is why I say there's some background and compositional things that I'm not sure about. I don't know if I need a few more animals or random things like that. Normally I'd like to have such things decided by now, but, you know, things happen. It's fine. And I'll probably add some more, like, smaller bits of falling snow. I think the snowflakes might be too big right now, so I might just redo them entirely. But that's just a splatter brush, so that's pretty straightforward. Yeah, it's getting there, basically. I think if I'm doing things 3 times a week, I can probably make it before Christmas. If I start getting scared, maybe I'll do it 4 or 5 days. Maybe I'll stop doing the other drawing for a little while. Or do less game streams just so I finish it in time. Because I would like to give it to Pippa for Christmas. This seems like it would be a nice gift, since it was based on just little tidbits I remember hearing her say of places that she wanted to live, clothes she likes, animals are great, etc., etc. So I would like to do that. And I do hope she likes it. But I suppose this is where I will stop for today. So thank you all for coming. And I hope you're able to make something wonderful today. I will see you all tomorrow. But yes, for new people coming in, I do stream every day. I stream art 5 days a week, and I stream games 2 days a week. So if you're ever available at this time, I'd love to have you here.